quickly move towards the fourth point of discussion that we are going to follow this afternoon, and it is going to be dedicated to the role of EdTech in revolutionizing learning and communication skills. So that's the topic of our fourth panel discussion. And just to put this topic in context, educational technology has dramatically transformed the way people learn and develop communication skills. It has introduced innovative methods, tools, and platforms that enhance traditional learning and promote effective communication. Learning experiences are getting more personalized with adaptive learning tools and customizable resources. There is enhanced learning and inclusion with the emergence of remote learning and assistive tools. So before we dive deep into this topic, I'd like to once again thank the contribution of our partners for today's conclave, Bichitra Prakashini, GD Goenka, Calcutta Publisher, Tulshi Prakashini, Epson India Private Limited, and Primex Media Services Private Limited. So I have already told you the discussion is going to be on the role of EdTech in revolutionizing learning and communication skills. For this panel discussion, ABP Live anchor Chahat Jain will be the moderator, and she'll be joining us on the stage. Let me also introduce to you our panelists for this panel discussion, starting with Mr. Ankit Khandelwal, co-founder Think Exam, which is an innovative online examination platform that streamlines assessment processes for educational institutions and businesses. Welcome, sir. And our second speaker for this session is going to be Mr. Arpit Mittal, founder and CEO SpeakX, which is an AI-driven platform focused on enhancing spoken English and communication skills. We welcome you both. And of course, Chahat will be giving a detailed profile of both our speakers for this panel. Over to you, Chahat.
Thank you so much, Preeti. Hello, Ankit and Arpit. So we will have a very insightful session. We'll talk deeply into actually what technology is and also how it is helping our people getting jobs, making their communication skills better. Simple I think our audience बहुत लेमैन लैंग्वेज में सबसे सिंपल तरीके से समझाते हैं कि फ़िलहाल जो ट्रांजिशन चल रहा है, स्पेशली व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट सोशल मीडिया ने एक काइंड ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट कर दिया व्हेन यू नो इट इज़ मैंडेटरी टू हैव एक्सीलेंट कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स. डू यू अग्री बोथ ऑफ यू?
100%.
एब्सोल्युटली.
उसको हमारी जो यंग जनरेशन है उसको किस तरह अडेप्ट कर रही है एंड व्हाट आर वी डूइंग फॉर इट? आई विल स्टार्ट विद यू.
So thank you everyone. Thank you ABP. See, communication has always plays a very important role.
That's
whether
right.
it is our life and be it our job or how we live our life also. So when it comes to social media engagement and new generation reaching out to social media platforms, and when they are learning new things, so it has effectively become very important
Right.
to inculcate all the good things and accept in our human nature. So when it comes to technology, I'll just tell you an example. My daughter, she's in sixth, she's a 6-year-old child.
Right.
And she watches a lot of YouTube. And what she has, perceived from there, she started using ChatGPT.
Oh,
And
she's 6 years old.
Yeah, she's just 6-year-old. And she opened, I was doing certain things on ChatGPT, and she learned from me, and she opened the mic on the GPT app, and she started asking questions.
That's very nice.
I'm not talking about, social media. I'm talking about ChatGPT. She's
AI.
going there, and she started asking questions from the AI. And AI started responding to her. And she started, a communication which went, last long for 15 minutes. And now it's a, constant habit that she's continuously using this
AI
tool,
in her everyday life,
yes,
basically.
this tool to improve her day-to-day communication.
But isn't it what we only told our children to do? कि Alexa से जाके गाने लगवा दो,
Yeah.
This is what we have taught them, right?
Yeah.
Alexa probably was the first thing जो बच्चों ने बहुत easily समझ ली कि हाँ इसे बोलो तो ये कुछ भी करते हैं.
Absolutely, it's convenience, right? तो communication has been perceived in a lot of different ways.
Right.
Think of a child who is just born, right?
Right.
That child communicates to the mother when to feed, when to sleep, right? All the communication starts happening very naturally.
Right.
Okay. Over a period of time, when he grew 4 or 5 years, the child starts speaking and communicating and expressing himself. And eventually the child goes to school. Now, there the formal communication and formal education starts.
Right.
Right. And the child develops skills over a period of time, years,
Right.
to communicate effectively.
Right.
Right. So, social media has bring a lot of exposure early in the ages when children are still small, right?
Below
they are
10.
getting below 10. They are getting a lot of variety of different videos and everything, and it's still tough to pick up that what is right, what is wrong, right? That
See,
is where
this is the transition. Matlab, in my time when we were like, what, 10, we used to watch Pokemon भी नहीं था,
Pokemon
तब भी नहीं, Pokemon भी नहीं था, मतलब
I think
क्या
TV
time था
TV
now?
was
TV
AI.
was a new thing that
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So we used to watch Cartoon Network or
Right, right.
these
So
stuff.
this is the transition we are actually talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a story which happens with me day to day. She started making videos one day. She started posting it. Papa, I need to post it to,
How do
this
I do
platform.
it?
How do I do it? When I said, no, you don't need to do it, she went to GPT and asked her how to do it. And,
So did she post it?
No, I actually stopped there. But I am saying, the new generation, the generation which we are currently working with, and the generation which is going to come up,
Right.
we need to accept that AI is going to play a very, very important role in their life. And for that, we, as a technology guy, I am making a lot of products which will
For them.
enable these people to, concentrate their energy
Right.
to a meaningful, outcome. So my personal belief is technology is always second. Outcome is the primary
First,
thing.
right.
If your visions, if your outcomes are not defined clearly, you will mislead yourself in the
Right.
entire journey of your career.
Right. Coming to you only, your expertise is examinations. How you are actually making that child prepared and getting ready for the ground zero.
Yes.
Is there anything that needs to be bridged right now in the industry? Some empty space that you see almost every day in this particular segment?
Lot of changes are happening. I'll tell you, I am into an industry which measure people.
Right.
So measuring is going to change entirely because we are now talking about skill economy.
Right.
We are moving towards skill-based learning system where skill credits will be given to the child, and after maybe 5 years, the employer will evaluate what is his, credit score. It will be something like a CIBIL score, which you have right now for your financial things. So similarly, there will be a credit score, and there are a lot of things which we need to evaluate. We need to measure with these people because, we used to learn skill. There is a learning curve. Initially, in 90s, we used to learn in a year or two. Now the learning curve has changed to 14 days.
Right.
You need to learn skills in every 14 days. A small skill, a big skill, or
whatever it is.
Whatever it is. You need to update yourself after every 14 days, and you have to measure where I am standing right now.
But do you think it is happening? Like how many of us in the audience and over here stage?
So,
Like, are we updating ourselves in each and every 14 days? Like, are we doing that?
but these are the trends which I'm talking about in US. People, they've started, yesterday, President Donald Trump has taken oath, and you see what is his first decision. His first decision is, investing $500 billion in AI. If somebody is spending such an amount in building one technology, imagine this kind of impact it is going to have over the years.
Right. Arpit, coming over to you.
Yeah.
Do you also agree that we need to update ourselves, upgrade ourselves in every 14 days? And how are you letting and helping other people do that?
I think 14 days is
small,
it's
shorter
too
duration.
short to learn anything. But effectively, knowingly or unknowingly, the way technology is transforming, right? We have been getting exposure to things, and we are learning at a much faster pace as we used to learn before. So I'll give you an example, like what we do at SpeakX. So we help people learn to speak in English using generative AI, right? Uh, in our, like when we used to study, we used to have books, right?
Right.
And think of a time when we are stuck with a question over there in the book, right? How do we solve that, right? There was no solution.
We used to close the book.
Yeah, we used to close the book, right? Today, what generative AI has empowered is that the book is actually responding back.
Right.
It is helping you solve that problem, right? It ensures that every individual, no matter at what skill the person is, where that person is, the person finds a solution in the right way, right? So that is the power which technology is bringing in terms of bridging the gap which existed in the existing system. And that is how, knowingly or unknowingly, we are learning at a much, much faster pace than what we used to do.
And then you tend to learn more because you're learning at a faster rate. So you have actually much more to do that.
Yeah. So
In fact, I'll say we are learning more relevant things.
Relevant things that keeps you relevant in the market.
Yeah. So you don't have to learn everything. Like no one learns everything, right? The change which has happened is that in the education system itself, everyone is realizing when they are talking about skill development or they are talking about specific skills which are required in the industry, they are saying that we want specific targeted skills that people should acquire. And that is what technology is empowering, because it's not one classroom where I need to teach everyone the same thing.
Right.
Because if I have to teach everyone same thing, then I'll pick up some common ground and teach that to everyone. But when we are having more of a one-on-one personalized kind of a coaching, right, then I tailor-made it according to you. It's more like no one gets fit by watching video on a YouTube.
Right.
Because everyone is watching that same video and no one is fit. Right. So you get fit by working on yourself at an individual level.
That's
and
right.
that is where the technology is bringing the power.
That's right. Ankit, coming over to you, as he mentioned that technology is actually playing a crucial role, and we are now learning at a very faster rate, pacer rate, as you mentioned also. Tell me, he also mentioned skill-based learning, skill-based examinations, and skills that makes you relevant even at whatever age. Learning is not age-bound these days. So do you have such programs? Do you have such examinations? How are you preparing not just students but otherwise also people to stay relevant throughout their working life?
So most of us, we know that today we are living in an era where we talk about continuous learning, learning forever. So similarly, if you are learning something, you need to be measured. And this measurement criteria, what brings is, we are kind of developing, assessments which evaluate your skill, tell you your strength, tell you your weakness, tell you how your behavior is, how you have changed your behavior. It's really different. It's not easy to change behavior, but our psychometricians who are working in the back end, they're evaluating person from 3 different perspectives. One is the domain knowledge, which he has acquired. Second, his personality, how he's going to react. And, and third is the behavior part. So how he is going to behave in certain situation. So these assessments are critical to identify his overall strength in his personal, well-being and in his professional career as well.
Right.
So these are 3 areas where our psychometric teams, who are especially designed, they're members of ATP and APA, they're working day and night to actually evaluate skills in a way that, it gives you real outcomes.
Right.
So that's how we are working right now in the field of assessment.
That's great. That will actually bring a change in another 5 to 10 years. We will be able to see
Yes.
the change. Arpit, coming over to you, when we talk about communication, when we talk about English, these days what the society perceives as English is not just a need. It is more about fashion. It makes you look fancier, fashionable. It makes you look trendy. So do you, like, have you ever seen anybody coming to you कि हाँ English तो सीखनी तो पड़ेगी, अब ज़रूरत हो ना हो is something else?
I think in a country like India, it is essential to have a common language, right? Because we are a multilingual country. So people come from south, they come from east, they come from west, they come from north, right? And everyone is speaking a different dialect in their hometowns. So look at it more from an educational institution perspective, or maybe from a company perspective, a corporate perspective, right? They need to conduct business in one language, right? A common language. And that is where the need comes in, that people need to have one language where they can all communicate, collaborate with each other. So English as a need comes from there, right? And the social part of it, I think because we are not like Japan, China, or Russia, where they have one language where everyone speaks that's the language of operations, right? So effectively, people who study, so they generally get people who go to IITs, IIMs, so they generally speak well in English. And that is where the aspiration starts coming down. That people who are doing well in their own life are actually able to communicate well. And people who come from the bottom have that same aspiration that, okay, if I want to be recognized in the society, so I need to have better communication skills.
But this is what is happening in the placement industry, right? No matter whatever skills you have, you are still being perceived on the basis of your fluency in English. I think most of the audience would agree or disagree to it. How many of you agree to it?
So
Almost all of them.
There are 2 points. One is knowledge and skill, and second is implementation of that knowledge and skill. Right? So how do you showcase in an interview that whatever knowledge and skill you have, you will be able to make use of it once you join an organization? So you have to effectively communicate that, right? And that is where the part of communication becomes very important once you go for placements or once you are trying to go for higher ed. So people perceive that a person who is not able to communicate well may not be able to deliver
well. Ankit, I think you wanted to say something. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are a lot of companies which have criteria as English. But, to be very honest, if you see, English definitely plays a very, very important role. But important is why it is important. Why companies choose to, measure candidate on one particular language skill. He rightly mentioned, we work in a diverse country, and when we work in a diverse businesses, so person who is sitting in Japan, who is sitting in France, or person who is sitting in England, so the common medium is English. But important is you can express yourself. That's what communication is.
But how useful you can be at work cannot come from one language.
Yes. So definitely, I mean, see, I probably am a good speaker, or you are a good speaker, but it doesn't mean that you are a good worker. You will be able to do your job. So English is one of the criteria during placement assessment, just to make sure that you are going in a company where one language can help you to communicate with each other. And
So-
that one particular language is English. But English is not a criteria to measure one individual performance.
That's right. Efficiency of any
Yes.
individual. That's right. Ankit, but tell me, a player like you who has been existing in the EdTech sector for so long, how are you making people relevant through the use of technology? Like, are you using any specified tools? Are there any
So
equations?
I started as a we started early. We started our journey with making one software, which is to evaluate, student on OMR sheets.
Okay.
Most of you might have seen it. So that's one of the invention we built it in year 2009, where there were a lot of big scanners used to be there. So, it's been a long transition since then. And today at, 2025, we have built tools where, content is very easy to be made.
Right.
We have created tools where a teacher would not require to create paper. It's a very mundane task. You don't need to evaluate. AI will do your job.
That's right.
You give, marking based on how he has done your answer. How he has, the AI will tell you,
How have you
he's
framed
getting
your
2.5
answer?
out of
Right.
5. And even that, there are tools which can read languages, handwriting which even the teacher cannot read. So there we have achieved 98% accuracy in reading the right.
That's great.
Yeah. So
this change has come in the past few years.
yes, and there are a lot of things which are going to come up. We can tell you this student performance. We can tell you how the personalization, how the content has to be given to him, how the assessment has to be given to him. The content and the assessment, it can be created immediately just on a single click. So that's where we are taking the technology.
Right.
And once you have defined your CLOs and PLOs, your content will be automatically created with an AI avatar.
Right.
So teacher, so imagine a teacher which is an avatar delivering the concept to the student. So I see...
but I think it still happens, right? If not in India, but it is still happening. It
is
exists.
Still happening. So if you have seen Khan Academy latest video, it was 6 months back, the GPT has created the entire lesson plan for a student. And the student was actually interacting with the GPT. So that's where we are heading towards. We need to adapt these technologies. We have to look at a very different way how the role of the teacher has to be defined. What are their roles and responsibility? See, there is one thing which is very difficult to build in AI is empathy.
The connection and the empathy, of course. The
connection and the empathy.
Right.
And bringing that student to the table and telling him, boss, you have to study.
Right.
That's what a teacher can do. If you see the onset of this online education, a lot of students, they were given online classes.
Right.
Where was the teacher? Teacher was not beside him. He was sitting somewhere else
Distant.
And delivering his thought process.
So that connection technology will never be able to bring, but otherwise everything else, they're already doing it from everywhere.
So the concept, the paper, everything will be created on a click. So that's where we are heading towards.
Arpit, you wanted to add something to it, right?
I would like to add. So what we have seen is that there are two ways. One, obviously, there is a classroom methodology, right, which is more of a forced learning. That is how we look at it, right? So kids are being told to do something, right? Not only kids, even adults, right, in a classroom format. While when it comes to digital technology-based learning, right, EdTech that we call,
they learn what they want to learn.
It's a choice, right? And that is what we believe, that life should be full of choices, right? People should have a choice that this is something that I want to do and this is something that I don't want to do. So the role of a teacher is of a guide to help you stay on track, to help you be on that path, right? That is what the teacher is like. Even that is how the session started. Ki Guru Dronacharya was there, right? They used to teach the methodologies. They used to teach the way of life, right? That is what a teacher is there for.
That's right.
Right. I think content delivery and everything, tech is going to be a superior medium.
But you can never replace a teacher.
You can never replace a teacher. Right? Yeah. So because a guiding force is always required, right? If there is no guide, you will be directionless. And like no matter what you study, what you are actually consuming, right? If it is not in a specific direction or if it is not meaningful, so effectively you will reach nowhere.
Teacher is not going to change, but teacher has to change himself.
So of course, we have a lot of teachers sitting here. I think they would agree to it.
You need to understand what your child wants. So I met a lot of teachers who are still little hesitant
with the technology
to adapt or to accept that GPT is there. We need to accept it is there. We need to adapt it. We need to learn what we need to teach from it.
Yeah.
How to teach from it is something which we have to learn.
That's right. In the previous session, we also discussed the same thing. You do not have to consider technology your enemy. You have to be friends with it to be more familiar, more easy, more flexible.
या पहले हमारे बचपन में ऐसे कहते थे कि पढ़ाई मज़ा नहीं सज़ा है, right? Now that is changing, right? And that is where the change is going to happen. So everyone, including the educational institutions, teachers, parents, and we as learners, everyone need to adapt to that.
Of course. I think we have a lot of teachers in the audience. So do we have any questions from audience? for the speakers. Anybody who has any question?
I just want to ask your advice on how to monitor the content. Like you are giving children, these instruments and they are using it. For example, just your SpeakX, I just checked it out. So like I'm just using a very simple daily life example. My younger sister, she's opened a clinic in Sector 80 Gurgaon and we are choosing an assistant for her. Last 2 years, we have not found an assistant जो कि graduate और English बोल सकता है, parents से call ले सकता है. BDS डॉक्टर आ रहे हैं जिनको इंग्लिश नहीं बोलनी आती है. Imagine they can't even talk to the patient because patients are coming from Australia and all, and they are not able to converse. So imagine I have to find somebody who is not good at the profession, but good at communication. So when you are finding something like this, or you are delivering like SpeakX, I just checked it out, 300 rupees per month. So how do you manage the content and how do you make sure, because all of them have done the English speaking course.
She has
Mind
done
you,
all her
they
research.
tell us they have done the course and they're not delivering. So how do you monitor? Maybe you have to assess, combine with him, so check out to measure the skill that has been delivered, because there's something very, very horribly going wrong. For last 2 years, I'm going to her clinic every week, taking interviews.
Ma'am, absolutely, that is where the change is happening. तो पहले क्या होता था ना, कोर्सेज करके आ जाते थे लोग, सर्टिफिकेट होता था, सीखा कुछ नहीं, राइट? क्योंकि वो क्या था ना, दैट वाज मोर ऑफ अ रिक्वायरमेंट कमिंग फ्रॉम कि अच्छा आपके पास सर्टिफिकेशन है, राइट? तो पहले इंजीनियरिंग की, मैंने इंजीनियरिंग करी है, शायद कुछ सीखा नहीं उस 4 साल में, राइट? व्हाट आई लर्नड इज हाउ टू स्ट्रगल इन लाइफ, राइट? दैट वाज माय लर्निंग कि स्ट्रगल करके जीता जा सकता है. तो कंटेंट की जहाँ तक बात है, तो वहाँ पे हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस ना एंड सर्टिफिकेशन पे रखते थे, राइट? नाउ अगेन इफ़ वी आर डिलीवरिंग एन आउटकम बेस्ड ऑन लर्निंग, तो आपके जैसे असिस्टेंट है, राइट? तो इफ़ द पर्सन इज going to come and start speaking few lines in English, right? That will give you far more confidence than bringing 3-4 different certifications around English. So that is where world is changing, where people are choosing it by choice and not by force.
Nee, but there are so many people who have learned English speaking and they're not speaking properly. So how will you make sure that they have learned it? Because you have to assess it somewhere.
Bilkul.
You can't leave such untrained people in the industry and they're just going haywire. I'm telling you.
Absolutely. So how the course works is, I can talk about SpeakX. So what we do is, it's a continuous assessment model that we follow. So every question that you answer will put you in a higher or a lower difficulty orbit. So we have multiple orbits that we have created, right? And it's more like you are farther away from sun or closer to the sun, right? And as you make progress, so it keeps on evolving your personal progress and keeps on giving you a higher or a lower difficulty level program. But we do not provide any kind of certification at the end, because that is what we stand against. That
Right. That's fine. Absolutely fine. We are not going to judge them there. But basic competencies you have to build. So maybe you can help in, that assessment.
I have three different approaches to solve this problem. So first approach is, we need to understand we have only 1% of people who wants to learn by themselves. So अगर IIT में किसी को क्रैक करना है, तो जो 1% जनता है जो निकलता है, वो उसको किसी एडटेक प्लेटफॉर्म की ज़रूरत नहीं है. उसको अपने मोटिवेशन, अपने बिहेवियर से वो पढ़ता है. तो बहुत सारे लोग जो आपका ऐप यूज़ कर रहे हैं, या मेजर आप जिस तरीके से उसको करते हैं, वो इनिशियल लेवल पे है. अब इसका सोल्यूशन ये है कि या तो आप उनको ट्रेन करिए कुछ दिन के लिए, आप हायर करिए, उसका इंटेंट देखिए, उसका कम्युनिकेशन देखिए, वो दोनों को अपने जो उसका प्रॉब्लम है, आपका जो प्रॉब्लम एरिया है, उसको कितने इफेक्टिवली उसको कम्युनिकेट कर पा रहा है, और उसका इंग्लिश का जो आपका प्रॉब्लम है उसको ट्रेनिंग के या स्किल गैप एनालिसिस के थ्रू उसको फिगर आउट करके उसको एनहांस करिए. दूसरा है जो बहुत ट्रेडिशनल नहीं है और बहुत AI ड्रिवन है, आप काउंसलर हायर कर लीजिए, विच इज़ कॉल्ड एन AI काउंसलर or AI agent.
Even that is available.
Yeah, so you would not have to go through an entire headache of things. If it is a repetitive task, if it is a mundane task, you have a solution.
Right.
And third solution is, you get into a hybrid medium. So I have introduced a platform called Smart Interviews. So in that, you don't need to go to the center. You get a link. There will be an avatar who will be asking question on your behalf, and then it will be evaluated and you will get the response. So you can reach out to thousands of people.
Ma'am, for that Well, do we have any other question?
Good evening. I'm Priya Gambhir, Principal, St. Andrew World School, Vasundhara. And my question is that we have to align our curriculum in the light of NEP 2020, wherein major focus is on multilingualism. Children are expected to learn through their mother tongue. And above all, cherry on the cake, we have millennial lingo, isn't it? So that, the blend of everything is making the children confused, and their command on verbal communication is so bad. Why? Because they are not reading and they are not, having that oratory skills. So where AI can harness this problem, and where can we, amalgamate your platform at school level so that a little upliftment will going to happen?
Yes. So, ma'am, communication to learn to speak any language, right? As you rightly said, there are 2-3 different aspects that you need to touch upon. One is definitely reading, right? Second is listening. And third, the most important one is speaking. So, in a classroom format, the challenge is that if a teacher is speaking and if every child starts speaking, it becomes a chaos, right? So, everyone cannot speak. So, it is more about reading and writing. That is what classrooms at the end converge into. So the solution to that is that you can form smaller groups within a class. Give them time to speak among themselves, right? Unless and until you will speak and you will let go the hesitation of speaking. The biggest problem that a user comes to us, to our platform, is not that they do not know how to speak. It is because there's a hesitation to speak.
That's right.
Right? People do not speak in public because they think others will laugh.
Of course.
They become judgmental and no one wants to feel embarrassed.
It's a peer pressure.
Yeah, it's a vital thing.
It's a peer
So
pressure.
try and give them that leverage that in their own friend circle, in a small classroom, in a small group, they are allowed to make that mistake.
That's how they will build that confidence, right?
So, and second is we provide a technology solution where they can actually practice one-on-one English on the app sitting at home.
But still, till the time they do not try it out in open public, in a smaller group probably at first, they will never be able to.
in building that confidence, but the confidence actually comes when they try it out in the public.
That's right.
It will never come on the app itself. So that is how the physical and the digital worlds live together.
Have to come together and do it.
You can evaluate psychomotor skills of a candidate. So let's say, I'm a candidate and I'm being measured. So you can measure his, how he is reacting, what is right he has done, what is wrong he has done. And the AI, where it can help you is to understand how correctly you have formed the sentence, how proper was your grammar, how, how you have behaved during the entire session. This is where AI can contribute in your entire process.
But still, it is such a big help. At least somewhere it is being helpful. It's a big help.
AI is to empower, not to replace.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for such an insightful session. And audience, if you have any more questions, you can definitely ask our speakers outside.
Thank you,
we have to move ahead with the other panel.
Much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can we have a round of applause for another wonderful session in the SmartEd Conclave? Thank you, Chahat. Can I once again request Mr. Sunil Goswami, Head of Videos, ABP Live, to please come up on the stage to felicitate our speakers for this session, Mr. Ankit Khandelwal and Mr. Arpit Mittal. Thank you so much to both of you for your insights on this very important topic that we touched, the role of EdTech in revolutionizing learning and communication skills. And I'm sure the audience will take home a lot from this conversation.